Greetings, Reverend Phil here. Welcome back to my channel. Thought I'd come in today and talk a little bit about how to set up an altar. I've been asked a few questions in my group about this, so I thought I'd indulge and go into a little bit of a discussion. To set up an altar, all you really need is a space, a table, countertop, a bureau, a dresser, anything that has a counter on it, a top that you can put items on. If you're using a table or a countertop, you might want to use a tablecloth or an altar cloth to decorate and to protect your table. Also, you decorate your altar with colors and patterns by using altar cloths, depending on what you're doing for correspondences. Next, you're going to need some candles. These candles can be of any color you choose and may be set by the correspondences of what workings you're doing. So if you're doing a specific working that requires a red candle, you use a red candle, and so on with all the colors. Next, you're going to need a bowl or a dish. These hold water and other spell components. It's used in spell work as well. Bowls are used to hold components, herbs, money in money bowl spells, water, most commonly. They're used to hold water and be a vessel, representation of the elements. Next, you're going to need a chalice, a cup, or a glass. This is also a representation of the element of water and is used to giving offerings to the gods. It's also used to drink ale, wine, or whatever you're drinking for your ritual. Don't mind the tail, that belongs to my cat. He's paying a visit. Next, you're going to need a way to burn incense. Some use a cauldron to burn charcoal discs to burn loose incense. If you use cone or stick incense, you'll need a fire-safe burner. It can be bought at many stores. Even Walmart sells them. Yeah, even Walmart sells them. You should have a cauldron. These are mostly used for anything that you burn in spell work. It is also used to burn charcoal discs and loose incense, as I said before. And in this way, it may be used as a censer, so you don't have to buy a specific censer if you have a cauldron already. I should stop now and say, altars and all of our items that we use in magical practice are just that. They're tools. They're not mandatory. You don't have to go out and spend a lot of money buying all these fancy tools. Most witches do because we enjoy collecting things. But it's not mandatory. Any magic can be performed with just what God gave you. Your hands, your head, and your heart. Items of power, items of practice, whatever you want to call them, are only used to amplify and focus, for lack of a better word, your intentions. So, that being said, you don't have to have an altar at all. You can just practice without an altar. I did for years. But having an altar is kind of nice. It gives you a place, a specific area that you can say is for your practice and your practice alone. Altars are necessity, but not mandatory. Back to the discussion. As I said, you should have a cauldron. I'm reading again. They also use these to make black salt. You mix black salt, ashes from the cauldron with sea salt. 2 parts of sea salt to 1 part ashes. I think I got that backwards. It might be 2 parts ashes to 1 part sea salt. Oh wow, I can't remember now. But you mix the ashes and the sea salt, and you come up with black salt, which is used for protections and barring negative energies from entry, among other uses. You should have a wand. The wand is an iconic symbol of witches in fairy tales and contemporary culture alike, used in religious and magical practices dating back to the ancient Egyptians. The wand came into use in Wiccan ritual through the influence of ceremonial magic. The wand is used in most practices for casting circles, for focusing energies into a spell. The wand is a very powerful tool to a witch. You should have a feather. This is a representation of the element air. It was seen as an important magic item for thousands of years. It is used as a magical and spiritual item and is found worldwide. Feathers have a rich history of being used as a tool to cleanse, protect, and connect to the spirit realm. You should have a bell. The bell is an item of power and is used for cleansing and protection. Some witches do not agree with the idea of the bell being a core ritual tool. Other witches use one to clear and cleanse and charge their items and ritual work, crystals, and herbs. You should have an athame. The Wiccan athame is a double-edged ritual knife and is used for directing energy such as cutting unwanted energy ties, drawing symbols in the air, drawing the sacred circle before ritual, and closing it afterwards. The athame is not necessarily very sharp, both for safety reasons and because traditionally it doesn't actually cut anything on the physical plane. The athame's masculine, assertive qualities make it a powerful representation of the god. So, by having an athame on your altar, you already have a representation of the god. And by having a feather that is a feminine representation, you have a representation of the goddess. You can place any items you called for that you're called to on your altar. It is your altar. You can change it with the seasons. You can set it for the Sabbats and Esbats. You can set specific altars, ancestor honoring altars. You can set many, many different altars. I have friends that have multiple altars because they have altars for their ancestral practice, they have altars for their common practice, they have altars for their worship practice. But as I said in the little disclaimer I threw in the middle, altars are not necessary. They're not mandatory. They are necessary, but they're not mandatory. No tool to a witch is mandatory except hands, head, and heart. I think that's going to wrap it up. I've talked enough. If you want to know more, let me know in the comments. I'll go into a deeper discussion. Blessed be and have a great day.